Hello, everyone. Welcome to the stream. I'm Kel McDonald. I make comics you can read at kelmcdonald.com.
And I am Alina Pete, and I make comics that you can read at alina-pete.com. How's it going?
All right. Been doing my werewolves movie Saturday afternoons.
Hell yeah, werewolves.
Um, the newest one that we watched is Brotherhood of the Wolf.
I love that one.
Uh, I uh I had not seen it before. That is wild. It
Yeah,
is a wild ass movie.
it's a wild ride, that one. There's a
Where
lot
a
going
Filipino
on.
guy, yeah, where a Filipino guy pretends to be Iroquois.
Yep, that's always fun. And
Um,
and he's Chairman Kaga's cousin in Iron Chef, so that's weird too.
uh, yeah.
And you're like, yes, this
Um,
Filipino dude is definitely native. Sure.
yep. That's a thing.
Let's get some witch hat action on here.
I'm also for 7th season editing a manga about fucking a giant snake.
Oh, good. Is
And it
it
is
like a snake boy, or is it just a giant snake?
No, it is a giant snake.
Cool.
And it is anatomically accurate. He has 2 dicks.
All right. Is that a plot
And
point?
it is a plot point because they have to figure out where they're gonna go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
It's too on the nose to make you a werewolf, so I'm gonna make you a Frankenstein, I think.
Frankenstein's monster or a Dr. Frankenstein?
I could do either. I think I'm kind of going Frankenstein's monster right now.
Have you seen that joke going around about Frankenstein's monster and it's the energy drink?
Yes. Whose is
Very
this? It's Frankenstein's monster.
good. But yeah, that movie was a wild ride. I feel like the highlight is there's that part where he's fucking the prostitute.
Yep.
And then it zooms in on her boobs, and then her boobs turn into the mountains as like a scene transition.
That's real up there in those transitions.
Yeah, that's quite the movie scene transition.
Yep.
Still watching Hot D.
Good.
And
I heard that
the
this week
tinfoil hat
was not as violent as previous weeks, and people were like, "Where's all the blood?" And I was like, no, "There's not blood every week, y'all."
What's very funny is this newest week had a older lady crash the like crowning coronation for the king on Dragonback. Like,
good.
So she just like busts through the building that they're
She's like, "Who gonna stop me? I'm riding a dragon, yo."
Yeah, basically. And so the tinfoil hat guys that I like to watch, they do like a little YouTube live show after the end of every episode.
Good.
And the thing that I appreciate about them is they're always team random unnamed guy in the background.
Good.
Because like the reaction to this lady busting through on Dragonback is like, yeah, look at her be all badass. Their reaction to it was, so she just killed so many small folk.
Yeah.
Because between the building debris and her dragon like stomping around, like dead small folk left and right.
Oh yeah. Just so she could make an entrance.
Yeah.
Now, was it like a Sleeping Beauty kind of thing where like she was supposed to be invited to the party and she wasn't, so she's like, screw you?
No, okay, so what it is so the king just died, and his second wife is like, I know the king has said his entire life that he wants his daughter to take the throne after him.
Right.
But when I was alone with him, his dying wish was that he wanted to change that to my son.
Right. Totally not sus
We're
at all.
alone, there's no witnesses.
Yeah. But I'm his wife, so totally believe me.
It's yeah. And then she's very surprised by the fact that apparently everyone was like, well, yeah, we were gonna do that anyway because we hate his daughter.
Right.
Anyway,
and she's like,
are
but
we
I
all prepared for
a dragon?
No. This because she's not a dragon person. But meanwhile, the king's cousin had been visiting.
Right.
Like the night that he died. And his cousin's grandchildren are engaged to eldest daughter's children. So her grandkids are like the future, her granddaughter is like the future queen of Westeros.
Right.
If daughter takes the throne.
So she's got some skin in this game.
And since she has a dragon, they're like, well, we can't let her leave.
Yeah.
And so they locked her in her bedroom, and she successfully snuck out, got her dragon.
Good.
And then I guess where they were having the crowning ceremony is like above where they keep the dragons when people aren't riding them, like the dragon stable, basically. Because what happened is she like comes crashing through the floor.
Right.
And is like, here's my big dragon. Isn't it cool? Stares down the folks that are crowning a different king.
Right.
And then just leaves. So I was like, okay, tinfoil hat guys are gonna be mad that she killed a lot of people, but they're also gonna be mad that she didn't kill oldest son.
Yeah.
Because like she could have ended the Civil War right then and there.
Yeah, but she decided not to for some reason.
Probably kinslaying, because that's like the greatest sin in Westeros.
Oh yeah, but everyone does it all the time.
Not everyone, just Jaime Lannister, but he sucks and no one likes him.
And that's why.
Yeah, because he's a kinslayer.
It's literally why no one likes him.
Anyway. But it's just very funny that like consistently turn on these guys' shows and they're talking about, so this is how many unnamed people they killed.
This episode, just this episode.
Yeah,
it's real hard being a peasant in this town.
They're really like tallying the body count for each side.
Good.
And they're like, so they're kind of like, so I guess. Because there was also an episode where, so the lady who did her dramatic entrance on Dragonback this episode, her son was married to the future queen, but her son was gay.
Right.
So future queen and him had an open arrangement, and were fine with both of them fucking other people. Until future queen started to pop out kids that look absolutely nothing like her gay husband.
Right.
Because her gay husband's half black.
Right.
And those kids are very white.
Right. Well,
and
they don't know about dominant traits. Maybe she could make a go of it.
Yeah.
There. That's us being all Halloweeny. It's very good.
In the books that it's left ambiguous whether or not her kids are her husband's kids or not.
Right.
but in the show, they decided to cast him as black to make it 100% obvious,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
that
yeah.
those
For
ain't
the
his
for the
kids.
audience.
Yeah.
Juki Holic says, how many people did the bird Brewster kill?
Well, so the thing is, because it's causing her all this conflict that she has kids that don't look like her gay husband.
Yeah.
She decides she's gonna marry Matt Smith, who's her uncle.
Ah, right.
And he's like, well, see, there's the problem, and that problem is that you are already married.
Yeah.
So they do a gay guy's boyfriend challenges him to a duel because reasons that don't quite make sense. But then it turns out that, like, that was an elaborate, we're going to fake his death so him and his boyfriend can run off into the sunset and be live happily ever after.
And she can just hang out there with her kids.
And then fuck her uncle. And
good.
so that is presented as a very, like, triumphant, oh, he didn't die and he's gonna go live happily ever after. Isn't that sweet? I turn on this guy's live show and they're like, they still grabbed a random dude and murdered him, though. Like, yes, it's great that this guy gets to go live happily ever after, but they still murdered a man. Like,
right. But we got away with one less bury your gays, so, you know, take your take your victories where you can get them.
So it's just so he is like, okay, so Queen that had all those kids that aren't her gay husbands is, despite planning that murder, that's just one murder. So I guess she hasn't caused massive she isn't a mass murderer yet.
Just one. Like, just one. Everyone's allowed one in Westeros.
Yeah, she has one murder and everyone else is like
on 50.
all the murder. Yeah.
50 million.
That lady on Dragonback, like, definitely killed like hundreds of people all by herself.
Yeah. I mean, you know, when you have a dragon, that's just what you do, apparently.
And then the queen without the dragon is like ordering deaths left and right.
Right. Because she don't have a dragon, she's got to feel powerful.
Well, it's more like there's a guy that is like their spy master who he has a weird crush on her.
Gotcha.
And so sometimes she isn't actually ordering it. She is just being like, I don't like this person. And then
he's like, maybe they'll just
so
go
I murdered
away.
that yeah, he's like, so I murdered that person for you. And she's like, that is not what I wanted.
Don't actually do that.
But he's done
please?
that. But he's done that repeatedly. So it's like, after a certain point,
yeah,
stop saying you don't like people in front of that guy.
Yeah. Like, he's just gonna do a murder on them.
He burnt down a whole whorehouse in this episode because she was unhappy with some people. So we got mass murder on both sides.
Good. That's a thing.
It's but I just love that every time I check into these guys' shows, they're like, so these are the small folk and the unnamed randos that got killed today.
Been killed just this episode.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to draw a sled.
And it's like, I appreciate these guys sticking up for the lower classes in Game of Thrones of all places.
I love those threads that you see every once in a while where people are like, what fictional universe would you live in? And it's like a bunch of stuff. It's like Harry Potter and this and that. And then they always list Westeros for some reason. You're like, no, nobody wants to live in Westeros. You would die immediately.
Yeah.
You're not going to be a big character in these. So therefore, if you go to Westeros, you're dead instantly. You'll just die for a real dumb reason.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like same for Harry Potter world.
Oh, yeah, totally. And then you have to put up with a bunch of turf nonsense. So, like, no thank you.
Yeah.
Ba, ba, ba. And even if you don't get
Um,
exploded, like something's terrible's still gonna happen to you in either of those
yeah.
universes.
I was listening to this philosophy class, like how philosophy connects with sci-fi.
Mm.
And while most of it was kind of and like I was like, I think that this guy is maybe a bit too white and
Yeah.
cis to talk about some of these things. Um, but one of the things that he did bring up that I'm like, oh, that is a good question to ask. Like if you're creating a supposedly like perfect world, or at least a fair world, um, is would you want to live in this society if you did not get to pick who you're going to, where you're going to be in that society?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Because all those people saying, yeah, I'd want to live in Westeros, they
Yeah, they want to
probably
be
think they're going to be like
yeah.
Targaryen dragon riders or wargs
Yeah, and then
or
part of the fantasy for them is like then I could do whatever I wanted and like nobody could tell me no. And you're like that's not a great fantasy, but
um
also you couldn't pick where you landed in that world.
yeah.
That doesn't sound great, to be honest.
Yeah, so it's kind of like is this a universe you would want to live in if you could not pick who you were in that universe?
Yeah. And I mean, the ultimate answer for that is like, if you want to be in a universe and you don't get to pick who you are, just pick Star Trek. Like,
Yeah.
maybe your planet's at war with somebody else, but like generally you're gonna be pretty well off. Yeah, Juki
You
Holic
can
here
run
says in
to
the
the
chat.
Federation and you can run to the Federation and get asylum or whatever
Exactly,
if it is
exactly.
shitty. Yeah. Well, see, the thing is like because they phrased it as society, Star Trek has multiple societies.
That's true. Yeah,
So
that is very
you
true.
could just say Federation Earth
Yeah,
because that's yeah. No matter who you are, if you're in the Federation and you live on Earth, like
that's
you
pretty
got it
good.
pretty good. Yeah.
Nutmeg, it's okay. My bird is yelling. She thinks it is
Um,
bedtime because it's dark earlier now. But bedtime is not for another half hour.
I also this week watched the season 3 premiere of Owl House.
Ooh, I've heard that's very good. I haven't seen that one yet. I'm still
It's
finishing season 2.
it's very good, and it also made me super mad at Disney.
Because this is the last season.
Well, okay, because they're not getting a full season, they're getting like 3 little movies.
Yeah.
And in the premiere, there's like a montage of the teens
Yep.
doing stuff.
Aw. And it's
And
all
it's
awesome.
very clear. It's very clear, like that this montage is like, well, if we had a full season, several of these would be like
Episodes.
slightly lighter filler episodes
Yeah,
that
yeah.
like maybe didn't move the plot along, but built an emotional arc.
And that's so
Um,
satisfying in what the fans want. Screw you,
and so
Disney.
I'm just, yeah, and so I'm just sitting there like,
Man.
um, I want all of these scenes to be an episode.
Yep.
Like,
Yep. Animation is going through such a rough time right now, and it's because like it had this like mini golden age post
yeah.
Netflix being a thing and going, well, we need a bunch of Netflix animations because we just need content so that we can compete with Disney, who we've heard is coming on to this game. So they like greenlit so many animation projects, and some of them turned out real cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then they hit a point where they're like, this is good, but like we're still struggling to make up with Disney, or to meet up with Disney, and animation's real expensive, and we're gonna can everything.
Yeah. And so the
Even
other
stuff that's in
frustrating thing
production.
is as bad as it is like Owl House, it's not even that. Like a lot of streaming stuff is like canceling things
Yeah.
because of like, oh, the algorithm and whatever
Yeah.
ever bullshit nonsense. And so then you get like Owl House was in every metric measure you want to use.
Totally
Is
top.
succeeding.
Yeah,
Like
totally top.
over the top,
Yeah.
blowing things out of the water. And it's just it didn't match the current CEO's vision
Vision.
of the
Yeah.
Disney brand.
I can just see him sitting there being
Um
like, okay, who is this for? I don't think it's for our core demographic. And it's like, Super
but
is
it's like
though.
the thing
Super
is the
is.
Disney brand has been so diluted since they got the MCU and Star Wars that
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
like, what even is the brand?
Yeah, it's your
Like,
brand. Your brand isn't about like kids' cartoons anymore, apparently.
yeah.
Even though that's what most people think when they think Disney.
So, a YouTuber I like, James Somerton, actually did a very good breakdown of everything that led up
Mm-hmm.
to Owl House getting canceled.
Interesting.
And basically he compares the current CEO, I forget his name.
God, I know this one too.
So
My brain's
he
bad at
compares
names
him
today.
he compares him to Bob Iger.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, so Bob Iger, while everyone complained about Disney being lukewarm, and just dipping its toe into queer rep,
Yeah.
like, yes, that is true, but Bob Iger also threatened to stop donating to the Obama administration if they didn't support gay marriage.
Yes. Yeah.
And whereas the current guy is the guy who was like, Disney, it is not Disney's place to comment on the don't say gay bill in Florida or whatever.
Oh, right. This guy. Yeah. It's bugging me. I know his name.
And
It's like on the top of my brain.
yeah, but so while
Uh,
Bob Iger was in charge, that is when House was greenlit and then also was renewed for a second season before the first season even aired.
right. That makes sense. Because
Um,
it's got some real good queer rep.
yeah. And well, it's like it's good queer rep, but also it's like it's just a very clearly it's clicking a lot of the right things for Disney and
Yeah.
like what they
Yeah.
needed.
Yep.
And then the fact that it had good queer rep and is about a magic school and
Mm-hmm.
is coming out right as J.K. Rowling
Is just
is
shitting the
revealing that
bed.
she's a giant
Just
turf.
shitting the bed hard.
Disney could have very easily like swooped in
Yeah.
and grabbed all of the queer Harry Potter fans
Well, and
that
like
were
we've
upset.
discussed, they've got little houses that you could like monetize and have little
Yeah,
badges for, and then you could
yeah,
be like, "This is the Owl
you
House
could
house I'm from."
and you can have like little plushies of King, like
They should have
they
50 different
all got
plushes of King because
they
King is so
they
cute.
they all have also all the witches get like little animal friends, their
Yep.
palismans.
Yep, and you could
Like
monetize all of those
there's so much
that you could do
like
with this show
yeah, to
that they are
just if
just
you're going to be
throwing
cold
away.
hard like marketing guy who only
Yeah.
cares about money,
But like
Owl
a
House was
yeah,
primed for that.
but like an Owl
And
House
so
level
anyway,
show isn't going to ever compete with Marvel in terms of merchandise. So I can see them like, "Oh, we need to reprioritize where our energies are going towards." And it's like, "Okay, you could still be making money off of this one and you're already making freaking billions." So like give queer kids a fun King plushie to brighten
well,
their
I think
lives.
it's not necessarily like, oh, it won't compete with Marvel, but it's more like, you know, the reason why Disney bought Marvel, right?
Mm. What is?
So because of the Disney princess thing, they realized that they had basically had little girl toys on lock.
Oh, right, but they didn't have the little
But they
boys.
didn't
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
boys things. And so if we buy all the Marvel superheroes
Yeah.
and we buy Star Wars, then we have all the little boy things too.
Yeah, and now we can sell all of the toys to all of the children forever.
And
Mwahaha.
so so Owl House is like I feel like the kids that would be into Owl House weren't going to be buying the Disney Princess toys
No.
anyway,
No, they weren't.
but they might be buying Marvel shit.
Yeah.
But like specific types of Marvel shit. So basically it was gonna I think but basically so Owl House was succeeding in every single measure of metric, and then in an interview the creator said it was literally just one guy who was really high up that said it was off brand.
Ugh.
And so while she does not name the
We all know.
current CEO of Disney,
Yeah.
it was probably him because
Yeah.
that's what changed.
Right.
And
Well.
what else is interesting is this YouTuber James Somerton found a statement from Bob Iger that said naming this current guy as his replacement is, he thinks, maybe the worst business decision he ever made.
Oh no. Yikes.
Like he was just like, this guy's a huge disappointment.
Oh no. Oof. Thing is, like, their marketing team is having some real struggles lately to try and figure out what kids want. Like, there was that story that came out with Encanto where they ordered tons and tons and tons of the Pretty Flower Sisters dolls and almost none of Luisa, because they're like, oh, she's the big kind of ugly sister, nobody's going to want her toys. But then, like, all of the Luisa toys sold out immediately because little girls were like, I want to be big and strong and awesome. Yeah, I want to be able to bench press a donkey. That sounds amazing. And they were like, oh, what? Why do little girls like that? That's weird. I'm like, have you met a little girl? Come on.
Like,
some
they
of you
want to do
must have
that,
daughters.
but they want to do that, but they do also want to wear a tutu. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
It's not an either or thing.
No, it's not.
They want to do both.
Yeah, you could do. Why not both?
There was also an interesting video on the topic of like Disney toys. That was about the Disney princess dolls and how Hasbro stole the princess dolls from Mattel.
Oh, really?
Because basically it was like the Cliff Notes version is everything Mattel does is second to Barbie.
Yes.
And Barbie sales started to slump, so they kind of took the Disney princess toys for granted, and they were like knockoff Barbies.
Right.
So Hasbro, seeing an opportunity, like went to Disney and was like, we'll give them custom face builds rather than just repainting Barbie dolls. Like, we will give them custom Barbie types. And what part of their presentation is that these girls, they really like what makes each princess unique. Like, it's not all just pretty dresses. So in their pitch, they focused on Tiana having like cooking accessories.
Yeah.
Not just the pretty princess stuff.
Right.
But like Mulan having a sword and using Merida having like a bow and arrow. And
she's gotta have that.
And then like Belle and her library and her books and like being like so smart accessories or whatever.
Right.
Very
smart marketing right there.
Yeah, so that's like basically that was part of the pitch on how they got to take the princess dolls away from Mattel.
Gotcha.
And I think it's like that kind of thought behind like, well, yes, they're for girls, but there's more than one type of interest that girls have.
Exactly.
Like, because the girls who reach to Mulan because she has a sword are not the same girls who are going to go to Tatiana because she has cooking stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I imagine they were also doing market research stuff and looking at stuff like the American Girls dolls and even the
well,
like
Hasbro owns
Monster
My Little
High.
Pony.
Yeah.
Well, Hasbro owns My Little Pony, so they already knew from My Little Pony, like Twilight Sparkle being the smart one and
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Rarity being the pretty one. Like, so they knew that already.
They're like, yeah, girls
Um,
want the type that they associate themselves with themselves, and then they'll get
yeah.
that, and that's like them. That's like their
w-
doll Sona.
One of my favorite Jenny Nicholson videos was her going over a leaked Hasbro email
Oh,
that was
interesting.
like the Applejack problem was like the subject header for it.
Good.
And basically, the summary of the Applejack problem is while all the other girls is quote unquote type is very broad and is easy for a child to relate to.
Yeah.
Um,
Applejack is.
Applejack's Applejack's thing is she has a job,
Yep.
and
She's the
8-year-olds don't relate to having a job.
kind of cowboyish.
Yeah,
That's
her
her entire
personality
personality.
is cowboy, but her main like plot point is
I work on a farm.
like is she has a job, and
Right.
so like little girls were not enjoying Applejack,
Right.
and so they're like,
What do you
when
mean
we
little girls don't
reboot,
have a dream of being a farm worker?
because a lot of the Applejack plots are like,
Oh no, some
we
trouble at the
have to
farm.
stop we want to have a fun time, but Applejack has responsibilities.
Right.
Let's all put fun on hold to finish Applejack's work.
That's
And
just bad writing.
but it's like,
Yeah.
what else are you gonna do with Applejack?
Yeah, it's true.
And so yeah, so it's
Yeah,
basically
it sucks because like you could try and work in the like food and nature angle, except we've already got
but that's
Pinkie
what
Pie who
Fluttershy
likes,
has.
and Fluttershy is
No,
all about nature. Like Pinkie Pie is about like baking
yeah,
and stuff, so you can't even do like, well, I do apple pies with
yeah.
with Applejack. You're just kind of
So
stuck.
yeah, so
Yeah, yeah.
that was kind of like, it was
I
at the
could see that
time
being a
right before
problem.
they were supposed to it was at the time right before they were supposed to like reboot the
Right,
whole thing.
right.
So it became um like, okay, well, how do we avoid accidentally making another Applejack?
Right.
Um
Oops, we've made a
the
character that's
answer
kind of
is
not sellable. Womp womp.
um the answer is that they made Applejack a boy.
Right.
If you watch the new My Little Pony, they kind of have
There's an Applejack type.
all their they all have like their type that they're kind of um because there's two Pegasuses that are sisters,
Right.
and one is very like sporty like Rainbow Dash, and one
Right.
is very like,
They figured
she's
out that formula.
basically
They were like, this
a
formula is
social
great.
media she's like a social media influencer, so she's kind of like Rarity, but then has a little bit of
Right.
party stuff from Pinkie Pie. And
Gotcha.
then there's a unicorn who's very into like craft stuff,
Mm,
and is sort of a ditz. So she's a little bit of Pinkie Pie, but like in a more artsy direction.
right.
And then main character is like Twilight Sparkle and is the smart one.
Of course, because the smart one's the ones that's kind of in charge and that is the most
Yeah,
popular. So like you might
and
as
so
well
then
might as well just lean into that.
and so then there's a boy
I'm gonna.
who is a cop,
Yeah,
and
cool,
he's
cool.
the Applejack type.
Yeah.
Um
What's his thing? He's a cop.
yeah, he's a cop. But he's a cop in a world with no crime, so mostly he picks up litter.
He's basically the Paw Patrol of the pony world.
Yeah.
Where he's like, I don't solve real crimes. I'm just here to indoctrinate children and makes them know that this is a job that you could have.
He's there to be a stick in the mud.
Good. He's the straight man.
Yeah.
Straight man of the gay ponies.
Yeah, basically.
That's a tough job,
he's voiced sir. By and he's voiced by James Marsden.
Is he?
Yeah. Not Spike and Buffy's, Cyclops in the X-Men movies. Yeah.
Good.
The new My Little Pony is funnier than I expected.
Oh, really? Oh, hey, Snapperjack. Thank you for the sub.
Friendship is Magic. I was kind of like, it's clearly for children. Fine if someone likes it, but I have no strong feelings one way or the other.
I watched a fair amount of it because the animation was really interesting, especially for the time. It was the first of the really sort of pushing the Flash style animation for animation type, and I quite enjoyed that. So I actually, despite the very straightforward plot lines, I watched quite a few episodes of that. I really like the background designs.
I watched until the first racist episode with the zebra.
Yeah. And then I heard later they had some native buffalo wandering around.
Yeah, and the plot was that they were arguing with Applejack on who owns what land.
Even the fucking buffalo say land back, Applejack. You colonizer bastard.
Yes, exactly. And
why don't we all share the land and be friends together? Because it's our fucking land and you kicked us off it, bitch.
No, that is the solution, is that Applejack needs to chill the fuck out.
Also, buffalo are migratory. Just wait. They're gonna just wander through.
Well, that was basically the solution, is Applejack was growing apples on it, and they're like, we need to pass through here for our migration, and then Applejack's like, no, you can't come in here. Applejack is like, this is my private property, and then they're like, Applejack, what if you just put a road through the orchard so they could go through?
Yeah. No, we got to make a treaty with them and then take away all their shit.
Anyway,
sorry, I'm not bitter or anything.
It was not a well thought. Someone did not think about this.
There was not a native person even within shouting distance of that episode. How do you tell there was no natives in the room?
So I ended up watching the new My Little Pony right before Emerald City Comic Con.
Oh yeah.
Because Fox News was mad at it.
Oh good. They're mad at fucking everything. Jesus Christ.
And I was like, okay, now I kind of want to see it because
I need to spite watch My Little Pony.
Well, I was like, okay, how is My Little Pony woke?
Yeah.
Well, the Fox News was not wrong. Because the plot of the new My Little Pony. That is not a thing
I thought I would ever hear you say.
The plot of the new My Little Pony movie is that racism killed magic.
Oh no! Oh no! You were telling me about this.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
no! I think we talked about this at Emerald City.
Yeah. So racism killed magic.
Oh no.
The ponies have been separated based on race, and because of it, their magic stopped working.
Oh no.
They have shitty racist propaganda about each other.
Yes, you sent me the song number where they're singing about racism.
Yeah.
And how the ponies got to be separate.
And they stole the chords of Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Yes, they did. Oh my god, I forgot about that. I think I blocked that out.
So it was actually genuinely funny.
Good.
And I'm kind of like waiting for the series to come out because I'm definitely gonna watch the series when it happens. But yeah, it was kind of like I did not expect it to be this funny. Like
That's the one with the like almost velveteen look to all of the ponies too.
yeah,
that one's a really interesting stylistic choice. Like, I don't like the feel of velvet, so like looking at velveteen ponies makes my fingers itchy. But it's like it's really reminiscent of what are those little velveteen toys that are really popular right now? They have like little animal people.
I don't know.
Oh man, my niece is obsessed with them. I'm googling them.
The guy, they also like were like clearly this bad guy in the My Little Pony movie is making fun of Trump. And I was like, he's dressed more like a South American dictator than Trump.
Yeah.
So they're projecting, but
like anything
he's voiced by
dictatorial
yeah.
is gonna get compared to that fuckface.
And it's like if they really wanted him to be Trump, then they would have made him orange.
Yeah, gotta be an orange pony.
But he is a red pony.
Maybe they just didn't want to be too on the nose about it and get sued.
He's played by the guy who he's from Community. He plays their professor, Senor Chen.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and he basically plays the same character.
Gotcha. They were just like, just get that guy.
Yeah, and he voices a pony that is basically him.
Sir, we need you to come and play our best racist pony. There's my rope player. Man, so there's a part in this book that I'm drawing. The early part is all sled dogs and sleds and lots of weird shaped sleds in perspective. And then a short ways into the book, spoilers, I guess, there are no sleds. And the little girl is lost on her own. And boy, I sure can't wait until I get to that chapter and I do not have to worry about drawing.
We don't have to draw any more sleds.
Dog teams.
Yeah.
Like there's an occasional sled shot because they are looking for her, and so I'll have to, draw the search teams and stuff. But boy, drawing lots of dog sleds.
Too many dog sleds.
I even drew a horse. There was a panel where they needed a cart being pulled by something, so I drew a horse. All I have to do now is draw. I've even drawn a car. If there's a bicycle, I get the trifecta of difficult to draw things.
I currently have to draw a nonsense machine.
Ooh.
It like doesn't work, and that's part of the plot point. So
gotcha.
Like
it can kind of look like.
Well, like there is a diagram that Ryan sent me, like because this is a real thing a guy tried to have made.
Oh yes, it's that story. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is just full of nonsense. And how does it work? Who knows? It doesn't work. That's spoiler.
Yeah.
Spoiler, it doesn't work. Yeah, but it's still like it's a lot of it needs to be convincing enough. Like, this guy's diagram is technical enough
that it's
that,
like, maybe
like,
that could
someone
work.
who is not an engineer could shrug and be like, if it works, all right.
Sure, that looks like an engineer had something to do with it, and they know better than I do.
Yeah, an engineer poked that.
Yeah. If an engineer thinks this will work, then what am I to say that it won't? Other than the fact that it looks ridiculous and couldn't work.
Yeah.
Okay, getting closer to being done with this dog sled. Then I gotta draw the other one. And I should probably draw some spray being kicked up here.
What was very fun after having seen the newer Pony movie last year is I then asked Shannon McGuire about her pony opinions.
Oh man, yeah. She's
She has
got
a
some
lot of them.
pony opinions, because she's got a
Yeah.
huge pony collection.
Her main complaint was the new pony implies that it is in the same universe as Friendship is Magic universe.
Mm-hmm.
So basically something happened
In the like hundreds
and
of
then
years.
racism and then racism killed magic. And so then
Even in the ponyverse, you got to be careful, or racism will rear up and ruin everything.
but her thing is was like, but none of the pony generations before this were connected to one another. So like it's clearly they're doing that to like placate the bronies, but
right.
So
Sigh. I need to move her further back, because that's where her lead dog is. And I think I gotta adjust her sled as well, because she's going kinda sideways. I destroyed myself emotionally today.
Yeah.
I don't know if you are familiar with Gord Downie and the Tragically Hip, but they're like my
I'm not.
favorite band ever. Huge fan. And Gord Downie passed away 4 years ago? A few years ago now, because of a brain tumor. But before he died, he was working on this amazing animated project called The Secret Path, where he was chronicling the life of a young native boy called Chani Wenjack, who died running away from residential school. Like things were so bad that he ran away, but he only had like the thin jackets that they gave them at residential school, so he ended up freezing to death on his way home. And it's a very sad story, and when Gord found out about it, he was like, people need to know more about this story. Like, what happened at residential schools was so terrible, and not many Canadians know about it. So he like committed the last years of his life to educating about it, which is really amazing, and a good thing that he did. But this 6 years ago, but like 2 years before he died, is when the Secret Path album came out, and I've kind of made it a habit of mine to rewatch it every year. So I this morning was like, okay.
So you're like, it's that time of year to emotionally destroy myself.
Yeah, it's the day I must do so. Oh boy. I'm gonna get myself emotionally ready for this. I didn't watch the whole thing this year because I didn't quite have the time to be emotionally destroyed all day. But I watched some of my favorite songs from it, and spent some time crying this morning. But the animations are so evocative because they're really limited animation. Like not a lot moves, and part of it was because of budget constraints, and some of it was because of time constraints. They only had like not very long to do the animation for it. But because of that, it's like doubly evocative because there's so little moving. But like they'll have like a crow in the foreground, kind of wheeling around, and it's just very lonely and very surreal. Beautifully done, gorgeous, haunting kind of animation, which will destroy your entire soul, make you just an emotional wreck for a little while afterwards.
I feel that.
Yep. What if I just
trying to think if there's a thing that gets me every time I watch it. Or am I dead inside?
A good thing to ask oneself after these trying years.
If I'm dead inside, it happened long before this year.
That's looking better. I think I sorted out this perspective issue.
Front door
Hi,
last night.
I'm Sarah Koenig.
No,
This
I'm
is
not
one
letting
ring.
anyone in.
There's not a lot that destroys me emotionally every time I watch it, but boy, that is sure one of them.
So I think usually the things that are an emotional punch in the gut for me is because they take me by surprise.
Right.
So rewatching a thing doesn't usually.
Right, because you already know what's going to happen. You know the beats.
But I do have things that like take over my brain.
Yeah.
I was talking with Joe last stream about we got on the topic of because Onion Knight was in our chat and
nice. Hey Onion, if you're around.
Yeah, he said that he's a movie we were talking about. Onion Knight said was one of the best 5. He was like it's in the top 5 sci-fi movies of all time.
Right.
And so Joe and I got into a discussion of what do we think are the best 5 sci-fi movies.
Ooh. That's a good discussion.
And while discussing it, I realized a lot of sci-fi movies, while I enjoy them, don't really hit me. So I really struggled because I'm like, all my favorite movies are not sci-fi movies.
Yeah.
But then I asked, does Sorry to Bother You count as a sci-fi movie?
Ooh.
I was given the answer yes, and I'm like, okay, so then if that is like the low amount of sci-fi that has to be in there
to count as a sci-fi, yeah.
To count as a sci-fi, then that's opening the door more to me because I was discussing like the sci-fi shit I usually like does not get made into movies, and if it does get made into movies, that part is not preserved.
Yeah.
Because while Independence Day is a fun movie, it is too
Yeah.
actiony for me to be like.
I'm so emotionally invested in this.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
so emotionally invested in the president fighting aliens.
Yes.
So.
But he gives that
My
inspiring speech. No.
My answers were things like "Sorry to bother you," and then I eventually was like, "Oh, what am I talking about? Iron Giant. That's a sci-fi movie.
Oh yeah.
Iron
Oh God,
Giant's in
yes.
there.
Oh God, and that'll get you every time. That'll do it.
But one of the things I brought up was the movie World's End.
I don't know if I've seen that one.
Have you seen Shaun of the Dead?
Yep.
And Hot Fuzz?
Yep. Same director?
So it is the third. It's the third in the Blood and Ice Cream trilogy.
Nice. Okay.
And in my opinion, it is the best one.
Nice.
I think Shaun of the Dead has a decent emotional core.
Yeah.
And Hot Fuzz is very technically proficient. Like it is as far as movie making goes, it is a perfectly constructed movie.
Yeah.
But so then World's End takes some of the emotional core of Shaun of the Dead and the more technical proficiency of Hot Fuzz and puts them together. The end kind of falls flat.
Right.
But I can't really think of a better way to end it.
Right.
And it is a movie where the more I watch it, the more interesting it becomes. Like I want to the way I think about it is like chewing on it. Like my brain wants to chew on it. So because I don't know how much you're against or for spoilers. I forget.
I am generally for spoilers because like I A, have a lot of media to consume, but B, will probably forget by the time I get around to it and then be like, oh yeah, I'm pleasantly prepared for this now.
The non-spoiler summary, I'm like the way it is advertised is a bunch of guys who were friends in high school re-meet up so they can finish a pub crawl they never finished in high school.
Right.
They have not talked in a while.
So it's a bit of a reunion.
Because Simon Pegg's character is insufferable.
Yeah.
And he is an alcoholic.
Right.
So it is very clear that the reason why they fell out is because one by one he like took money from them, never paid it back, destroyed their things. Like
yeah. All of the problems associated with alcoholism, etc.
Yeah, and being an addict in general.
Yeah.
But he wants them to finally finish this pub crawl.
Right.
He gets them all to come through various manipulations, mostly by saying everyone else is going.
Right.
So they're all mostly going to see the other members of the friend group rather than the alcoholic.
Yeah.
Like, and so he goes to every character and says, like, everyone's coming. And all of the ones except for the last one say, even blank, who is played by Nick Frost.
Right.
And he's like, yes, even so-and-so.
Right.
So he's clearly saving that guy for last, because he's going to be the hardest to convince, because that's the one he hurt the most.
Right.
And so the everyone is coming doesn't work on him. So he says that his mom died.
So you gotta come.
Yeah, so he does that, and then they're in their hometown and they're doing their pub crawl. But the town is slightly off,
Huh.
and they can't quite put their finger on why. Like, little things have changed, and a little bit of it is chalked up to um well, we're older now, and
Yeah, yeah. And it's been so long since
yeah,
we were all here. It's gonna
yeah,
feel a little weird. The usual sort of
yeah.
like coming back home feelings.
um But really, it turns out it's Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and their
Oh, good.
hometown has been
Oh,
one
good.
by one replaced by like alien robots.
Excellent.
And so you then like after they figure this out, they're like they want to leave, but then it turns out that they uh none of them are sober. Um
So they
and
can't leave town.
So they can't leave until they sober up, but then the alcoholic guy is very insistent that they finish the pub crawl and seems
Good.
very unconcerned with the fact that robots slash aliens have replaced the town.
Right.
Um
Good.
and then you find out in a dramatic fight toward the end that he is planning to kill himself. So he wants this to be his last hurrah before
Okay,
killing
gotcha.
himself.
Right.
And that is not just so it's not just
Whew.
his alcoholism that wants him to finish the
This is like the one
pub
last thing he's gonna
crawl.
do.
It's gonna do
Yep.
before he kills himself.
Yikes.
And that is one of those things that makes the whole movie like feel different once you know it,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
like
It
so you know how both
recontextualizes everything and all of his decisions.
Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz give you a point by point what's going to happen in the movie, like in a joke summary.
Yes.
Like in Shaun of the Dead, it's here's the plan, we do this, and then we hang out at the Winchester, and that's
Yes.
basically what they do. And then in Hot Fuzz, it's you ever fired your gun up in the air and shouted ah, you ever fired two guns up in the air and shouted ah, like
Yep.
and so they do that sort of thing, which is the summary of the first pub crawl. And what happens is then after he's done summing it up, it cuts to him in like a group therapy thing, and then he said it's a very much like he's summarizing it, and he's like, "It's the best days of my life" or whatever. And then it
Right.
cuts to him in group therapy, and he's like, "And it was all a crapshoot shit ride afterwards" or whatever.
Right.
And it's very clear, like he has already attempted it once and failed, and that's why he's in therapy, and he is just the pub
Fascinating.
crawl was the best thing that ever happened to him.
Which is kind of sad, but
As
also like, yeah.
like it makes why he's so obsessed with finishing it like understandable. And yeah, so it's just a movie that I was like,
Interesting.
it rents space in my brain frequently.
Interesting.
And the reason the end is a letdown is because like they confront the aliens and find out the aliens' master plan of replacing everyone with robots is they're just releasing like replacing quote unquote shitty people with robots. Or people that they're deeming irresponsible and can't take care of themselves with robots or whatever.
Right.
So like,
and are the people that they've replaced dead? Like they're killing folks.
Yes.
To improve the human race. That's a
Yeah, so
choice.
then they're replaced by a copy who is quote unquote superior.
Right.
Um,
That's a hell of a call to be making there,
and
aliens.
um, and it gets compared to replacing local bars with a chain.
Right.
Because at first, like, they go to the first bar and it is completely different, because it has been bought by a chain and cleaned up.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So while the name is the same, it's like,
God, especially in the
and then they go
UK,
to
where there's
this,
like some of the places that have been
yeah,
around forever that
yeah,
are like
and then they
this
go
is
to the
like Bob's place.
yeah, then they go to the second bar, and it's the exact same set as the first bar.
Good.
And it's compared. It gets the one of the characters calls it Starbucksing.
Good.
Um, and basically these aliens are Starbucksing the universe.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
so it is cleaner and more
More
efficient
palatable.
and
Yeah.
blah blah blah.
But soulless
But
and
it,
without that
yeah,
charm.
yeah. So uh it has the main characters be like, who are you to tell us that, like, we're being like, we have the right to be irresponsible, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. This is our planet. You're gonna come in
And
here and reorder it for
and
us? No, thank you.
and having an addict who is planning to kill himself be the one to argue, I am allowed to fuck up my life.
That's a hell of a thing.
Yeah.
Come on, buddy. Yeah, my birds are
And
demanding to be put to
basic,
bed, but they don't want to go to bed. Come
yeah.
on, bud. It's okay. Step up. Come on, bud.
And so rather than like a big climactic end, it's just sort of them arguing with the aliens as the end.
Huh.
And then the aliens leave, and it turns out aliens invented all of our technology. So without them, like, so the end has like an epilogue where, like, well, we had to get into gardening and figure out gardening again or whatever. Like,
Right. So we had to like reinvent all of our tech from scratch.
yeah.
Interesting. I should watch that one. No, it sounds fun. It's just
Yeah.
like I love that director. It's fun seeing them all act. Simon Pegg, very good.
Yeah.
He
And,
plays
you
a good
know, it's the
asshole.
last in
It's
the
good.
Blood and Ice Cream trilogy.
Exactly.
They do get cornettos.
Good. Good.
Um,
I'm trying to think of
but yeah.
sci-fis that make me really emotional, and I'm not remembering a lot of movies. Part of it is because when I'm asked to remember a thing, my brain goes completely blank. But also part of it is
Yeah.
because I think I can think of so many sci-fi books that have had like huge emotional impacts on me, and my brain is sort of like, no, those, not the movies. Because like Left Hand of Darkness will
Yeah.
always make me cry. That's a beautiful book. God, there's like so many others that have certain passages are
Yeah.
just so beautiful that like they'll make me tear up a little bit. But that's
High
books
Feathery
generally.
Justice.
Feathery Justice is a great name.
Yeah.
I highly approve
it
of
doesn't
it.
necessarily have to be emotional for you.
Right, just have like a big impact.
But what are the best 5 sci-fi movies in your opinion?
Ooh. The best is certainly different from my favorite. Sometimes I like a very bad sci-fi. So I was just talking about this with somebody else. Some of my favorite like comfort movies are the dumbest movies, or at least very, very tropey. So like my family, hey, you mentioned Independence Day. My family watched that over and over again for no reason. Like we were very aware of the like hyper American jingoism of it, and like, but for some reason it was just one of the movies that we could always throw on and just like watch over and over again. To the point where like my friend and I could quote that film at each other.
Independence Day is very good, like very well executed formulaic movie.
For sure. Like there's no surprises. There's big explosions.
If the aliens from World's End were going to Starbucks sci-fi movies,
yeah,
Independence Day would be what they make.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
Feathery Justice. This is what are in your opinion, what are the top 5 sci-fi movies? I threw in Iron Giant in there.
That's a hell of a good movie.
So,
One hell of a good
yeah,
movie.
yeah. Is Shape of the Water a sci-fi movie or is that a fantasy?
Ooh.
Because
I would almost, if it was a book, classified it as like fantastic realism. But
yeah,
I
it
think as a
kind of is
movie, I
more
would count
fantastic
it
realism.
closer to sci-fi.
But he magically like gives her gills, so I guess that makes it
Yeah.
fantasy.
Yeah. But it's only just
Uh,
barely. It's just barely fantasy.
so like so for the record, mine were Sorry to Bother You, Jurassic Park, Iron Giant, World's End.
Hell yeah.
I forget what my 5th one was. Because I just don't have that many sci-fi movies.
Right.
Um,
I mean, I don't know if it counts as
Feathery Justice
sci-fi.
is saying Paprika, Ghost in the Shell, Akira, and Belle.
Good choices. Very solid choices.
I have not
Huh.
seen Ghost in the Shell.
It's
I've
it's
seen like
beautiful.
Standalone Complex. I've
Oh
seen
yeah.
Standalone Complex, the series, but I've
Yeah,
not
yeah.
seen the movie.
Where is my mouse?
I think it's also the sci-fis I tend to really enjoy are TV series are better suited to dig into the things I want to
Gotcha.
look into
Yeah. I
than
mean, like one of my top one, and it's more cyberpunk than sci-fi, but like I love Blade Runner, even though it's like, well, let's cheer for the bad guy, actually.
that was okay. That was my 5th movie, Blade Runner,
Nice.
but without the version without the voiceover.
Yeah, yeah, no, same. It's just so stylistic, and I love cyberpunk. That's not gonna that's not gonna surprise anybody.
Yeah.
Look, it's cyberpunk. I fucking love it. I quite like the latest Dune movie. I think we chatted about that before. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, and I've not seen it because I hate Dune.
Yeah, no, it's fair. It's fair. I quite like Dune, and I had to watch it, and then it's just such a visual feast. It's so delicious. I am looking forward to the next one. What other sci-fi movies would I consider the best? I don't know if I. Iron Giant's a real strong contender.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
I can't say that it's a best movie, but like if we're talking sci-fi, you know what was really fascinating, and I wish it had a better writing team, is Titan AE. They really almost had something really cool there. It was a cool world.
Have you seen
Did not go far
Pirates
enough.
of the Dark Water?
Hell yes, have I seen Pirates of Dark Water.
Do you know
I have it on
that
DVD.
Titan AE is just finishing
that.
Pirates of the Dark Water in space?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, as long as you knew that already.
Oh, I knew that. I love it. And I also, yeah, I think that's part of what drew me to it, because I'm like, shit, this is so good. Look, they even got like a monkey bird lady with weirder legs, and she shoots guns. It's very good. Huh. What are other sci-fi movies, Brain? Come on, Brain.
There's
You can
the
think of some.
Matrix.
I mean, Matrix, classic, very good. Was obsessed with that in my teens. Such a good movie. What else we got? I really like the book where the guy's stuck on Mars. What the hell's that one called?
Martian.
Yeah, The Martian. The book is quite good. They get really crunchy with their science, and I like that.
Feathery Justice, The Matrix is very good. It lives up to the hype.
Yeah, actually. It is the only Matrix movie that exists. Don't.
I disagree.
Eh, there are parts of the other ones
Okay.
that I don't mind, but overall, like,
I
the Matrix is so
I
self-contained, there doesn't need to be
yeah.
more.
So I had not seen any Matrix sequels until
Mm,
recently. Because a YouTuber I like, Sophie from Mars,
yeah.
made a video that's the Matrix sequels are good actually.
Hmm.
Um, and part of her
How she
argument,
figure that?
well, part of her argument is that they are not actually two movies, they are one movie.
Mm,
And just at the time, like if they had come out today, they would just be a 4 hour long movie.
yeah.
And
Oh,
part
heck.
of what hurts them as individual movies is that you are not watching them back to back.
Yeah. Maybe I can see that.
Because and so there is a lot more like philosophical discussion going on in the
Mm-hmm.
original movie in those sequels
Yeah.
that
Well, and
are
that's
digging
honestly
into
what lost a
stuff.
lot of people.
Yeah.
I
And
thought it was
that
interesting.
is in her opinion like not letting the narrative get away with just a surface reading of the philosophy. Like
Hmm.
digging into it is what
Is
she
actually
thinks makes them good.
interesting. Interesting. I'm
Um,
sorry, I was just
and
briefly scrolling a list of sci-fis because my brain couldn't give me anything, and I was like, shit, how did I forget Fifth Element? Fifth Element is practically a perfect movie. I love it. That is on my list of top 5 sci-fis.
it's very good.
Oh
I think
man.
I think it doesn't make mine because uh I feel like I have a lot of the same feelings as Independence Day in that it is really, really well done, but it is not living in my brain.
Yeah.
Like
Ooh.
I watch it and I enjoy it as I watch it, and then it leaves my brain.
Oh man, I think about
Um,
that one a lot. It's just very. Again, it's got that kind of cyberpunkishness to it that I really love, even though it's in space. Um,
mm.
and it's got a very interesting visual language for all the characters that I really am into.
Have you read the comic it's based off of?
Yeah. Oh, speaking of, oh, that reminds me of the thing I was gonna say. I don't know if Tank Girl counts as sci-fi, but that is another really stylized movie that's just really fun and I think about a lot, and also has the best soundtrack and maybe one of the most underrated. The Tank Girl soundtrack, man, every song on there, with maybe the exception of the rap one, is like still just so good.
I mean, Men in Black is a good movie.
That was the other movie. Okay, so when I was a teen, we watched a bunch of movies all the time, and it was Independence Day, Men in Black, and Twister. That was our go-to. You can't decide on a movie, watch one of those. I could
See,
probably still quote Men in Black almost start to finish.
yeah, I definitely lean more toward fantasy.
Mm.
Fantasy is where my heart
Oh
lies.
man, same. I could name top
Oh,
5 fantasy movies
yeah,
like
like
so easy.
Pan's Labyrinth. That's a perfect
Hell yes.
movie.
Agree.
Good.
Strong agree. Dark Crystal.
Uh,
Fucking love some Dark Crystal. Um,
uh,
I'm looking forward to the Willow reboot because I like Willow. Uh, yeah, you know what I wish they would reboot?
Wolfwalker.
Oh, Wolfwalkers
What?
is perfect. I wish they would reboot
Perfect. Yeah.
Lady Hawk without the soundtrack because that is the one thing that ruins that movie. But like Lady Hawk itself, very good movie, very good story, cool characters.
Um, trying to think of yeah, so like sci-fi has definitely got like a lot of stuff where it's like this is good while I'm watching it, and then it leaves my brain as soon as I'm
Yeah.
done watching it.
Yeah. No, same.
So my top 5, like those are the things that sit in my brain,
Yeah.
and I think about them a lot.
I think I've read way more sci-fi that sticks in my brain way more than any sci-fi movie.
Yeah. Yeah, same. And that's why I was having trouble with the uh top 5 sci-fi movies.
Yeah.
And like I feel like with fantasy, the reason why it usually sticks with me better is cuz fantasy, since it doesn't need like to be crunchy science.
No, exactly. It can just be neat,
And
just evocative.
it can run on metaphor. So like to
Mm-hmm.
make the argument that Shape of Water is fantasy because he just like makes her scars turn into gills,
Yeah.
and like that's a visual connection, and it logically it doesn't make sense,
No, but it is
but
it
uh
it
yeah,
viscerally makes sense. Like you're like, yes,
yeah,
correct, this.
um and like Pan's Labyrinth, like the fascists being like evil fairies, like
Totally.
it works.
Totally works.
It just works.
Yep. Your brain just likes that
Um
as an explanation. You're on board with it. Also, God, the visuals in that movie. Did you ever see Crimson Peak?
yes.
The visuals in that movie,
Um
stunning.
Yeah, I wasn't as big on that one.
Me neither.
Like, the visuals are great,
Yeah.
but like, it was more the story. Like,
Yeah.
okay, incest twins, I don't
Yeah, it's
care
weird.
about you.
No,
Like,
no, not as big on that, but beautiful movie, beautifully lit, really cool sets. Love the aesthetic.
uh, but that's
That's working
also
for me
like
now.
a thing of the genre it was playing in.
Yes, for
Frederick
sure.
Justice is saying, "I'm of the opinion sci-fi is best in written form."
I mean, I'd agree with that. I'm there with you.
I've read some good sci-fi comics too,
Yeah,
so
actually.
I'm not opposed to sci-fi that runs on visuals,
Well,
but
and some of the good sci-fi
it's
movies are based on good sci-fi comics.
yeah, and it's more just what Hollywood is interested in adapting.
Yeah.
That I feel limits sci-fi movies rather than an inherentness of the medium.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
When
because I
people
do
fund
like,
sci-fi movies, they are like, "Well, where's your Star Wars? Where's your pew pew laser gun swords?"
because I do really like Arrival and like Arrival's
Oh yeah.
discussion on language.
Yeah.
But like because I want sci-fi to dig into shit really
Mhm.
deep.
That's why I like me some
Um,
Ursula Le Guin.
but like that's why like the sci-fi that has stuck out to me lately has been stuff like Severance.
Yeah.
Um, and that's a TV show, and
Yep.
because they have the room to dig into.
Yeah.
Um,
And to let you kind of sit and ponder the things that they
yeah,
are handing to you, where you're like, "Oh, what if though? What would the
I can
consequences of
I
that be?"
can I can mentally chew on the discussion that's going on.
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
feel like the argument for in being in favor of the Matrix sequels, I feel like it has less to do with them as movies and more like I can chew on these thoughts.
Right.
Um,
I have not seen
uh,
the latest, the like Matrix, whatever it's called, Revolutions,
uh,
Resurrection, something.
it's a very interesting mess.
Yeah, that I'd heard. I'd heard
Um,
it's nice to see the them, or I guess, is it just Lana? Like go full on, like, okay,
yeah.
before I couldn't do all the queer metaphors I wanted to do, and now I'm just queer metaphors all over the place.
Well,
It's like really refreshing to see it actually
like
laid out on the screen like that.
to go back to there's philosophical stuff dug into in the Matrix sequels.
Yeah.
Um, one of the things I liked in the the uh the new movie in is it's building off some things that were like throwaway lines in the first few sequels.
Right.
So like in when Neo talks to the architect,
Yeah.
um the architect tells him, you being the one is part of our planned program. There have been 6 other ones before you.
Right.
And that's how I know you're going to make this choice.
Mm.
Um, but because all of the ones are programmed to love humanity, so that's why I know that you will save humanity.
Right.
Um,
It's
but
literally your
what makes
purpose.
what makes Neo different from previous ones is they loved humanity in general, whereas Neo loves Trinity.
Right.
And because he cares about her as an individual, um, by doing that, um, she has made him unique among the ones.
Ah.
But without Trinity, he's just another part of the program.
Right. So it's
And
love that's made him more than just his
so
programming.
so Trinity is just as important as Neo.
Right.
Um, separated, they are nothing. Together, they are the one.
Gotcha. That's
So
cool. That's a
so
good metaphor.
all of the new movie is about Trinity is just as important as Neo.
Right.
Neo on his own cannot function and save everyone without Trinity.
Right, because
So
he'll just do whatever the
um
one programming tells him to do.
so he cannot succeed. And then it's also and so the part where it's like interesting idea, it's an interesting mess is um so it digs into that, and then there's a lot of stuff that is clearly like Lana reacting to alt-righters trying to hijack the red pill
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
for fascism.
Yep.
Cause like the villain is like a reskinned Agent Smith, um, who is now he's a hot young billionaire instead of a government agent.
Right, right, right. That's the thing
So
we're scared of
basically
now.
he's because those are the new agents for the
Basically.
Matrix
Yeah.
is billionaires.
Yeah. They are the system.
And
They make the system work for them. They have hacked it. This is all
and
working
so
as a
but it
analogy.
also like has the thing where the Matrix putting Agent Smith back in made him a hot young billionaire. And then that backfires on them because the answer to fascism is not to give them more stuff.
Yeah.
That will not placate them.
No.
They will just demand more.
Yes,
So
correct.
like there is an angle in the new sequel about like they tried to placate Agent Smith and it backfires on them in the end,
Right.
because fascists are always destructive.
Right. Well, and you
And
can't placate a
so
billionaire. They are only greed and
yeah,
consumption.
yeah. So it's kind of like so that's in there, but then um yeah, so it's basically, but that doesn't really do a good job of connecting to the Neo and Trinity
Yeah,
storyline.
yeah.
And so there's a lot of like, this is an interesting idea, but you're not quite
You haven't got
making them cohesive.
right.
Um,
Interesting.
and then there's an ongoing theme of like people building their own matrices, um, to like, as a way to keep what they have, because they're worried about losing what they have. So like Neo gets to Zion, um and it's been drastically rebuilt, and now they can grow fruit, and like he's getting shown how great like the new Zion is. um but they're like, oh, but don't go save Trinity, you would be risking too much taking
Right.
her out. Like you would be risking all of this stuff that we built, and we stopped trying to get people out of the Matrix because again it would bring too much attention to this cool like nation that we built.
Right. So we've built a
So
cool thing for
like,
ourselves, but we can't save anyone else now because we've trapped ourselves within this
yeah,
life of luxury.
yeah, and so that's like kind of connected, and
And you could do a cool thing with that
he is,
metaphor, but like you didn't push it far
yeah,
enough.
and so they kind of like present the metaphor but then don't dig into it.
Yeah.
And like, so that's sort of
That's
how
kind
the
of
whole movie
one of my
goes.
pet peeves of a
Is,
lot of different things in genres where it's like I see your metaphor, it's neat, but you're not exploring it fully, and you really should maybe if you're gonna bring it in like
yeah,
that as like your major theme. Maybe dig into that a little bit.
and
Like we
it's
talked about
like
this for Beastars.
all,
I'm like, man, your metaphor is all over the place.
well, I feel like with Beastars it's intentionally all over the place
Yeah, it's
because
just wild.
if it was too much one thing, it very quickly gets into say accidentally saying weird things.
Yeah, where it's like,
So that's
okay,
why,
eating people is kind of homosexuality and also just sexuality in general, but also they're just animals and they're actually eating each other. Okay,
but also
sure.
like, because they frown on interspecies marriage, there's a like interracial dating commentary going on
Yeah,
in
yeah,
there, and
which, you know,
like,
that's a thing.
yeah,
That's definitely a social issue
and
in Japan.
it's,
Okay.
and it's very much like she's saying all those things because she just wants it to be anything. Like, society encourages some behaviors and punishes others in both
Mhm.
violent ways and in soft power ways.
Mhm.
um and that is, and so she wants to keep it that general so she doesn't fall into the Zootopia problem
Yes.
of being too specific accidentally
Meaning that
claims that they're
your
super predators.
yep,
Yeah,
that your metaphor suddenly is claiming fascist things or things that you never intended.
yeah.
You're like, ooh, okay, no, don't like that. This metaphor fell apart and got weird.
But yeah, so I don't mind if it's something like Beastars where I feel like they're intentionally keeping it vague.
Yeah, it's when they
Um,
lean into try and do a cool thing with metaphors and they fail that you're like, oh, okay, that's. Yeah.
and I feel like it's more like, because it didn't connect to anything else, that building your own matrix theme, like, it's like, oh, Lana, you're just vomiting out all your ideas.
Yeah. I'm glad that
Your
you got the chance
thoughts
to
are
do this,
interesting.
but maybe you needed some
Yeah, your
editing.
thoughts are interesting, but we need to organize them a little bit
Yeah, yeah.
for a movie.
Maybe there should have been another editing pass on this or two that you went over some things with folks.
So, an interesting mess is a great way to describe the new Matrix. Um, and um, I also think like it benefits from watching the other sequels, right before seeing it, because a lot of this stuff that I connected is like, oh, so this is pulling on a thread from the third movie.
Oh, okay.
And yeah,
And
because
like
like
a
I said,
refresh of that, yeah.
Yeah, because like I said, the whole like Trinity is also the one thing is that is pulling on an idea from
Yeah.
Neo talking to the architect.
Gotcha.
Um,
That's interesting. That's cool, and I'm glad that you're exploring that. But like, yeah. But yeah.
But yeah.
I can also see there
Have
being
you read
like.
Oh, finish your thing.
I was gonna say I can also see there being sort of a like, well, I get a chance to retell this story, and it can never be what the like over the top blockbuster that the first one was, because it was such a like. It kind of came at a time where people were really ready for that, but then also the technology was really new, and a lot of people went out and see it for that. So you're like, well, if it's never going to be as big as that first one, I can kind of do whatever I want. And if it's a mess, whatever, it's a mess. It's my mess. This is what I'm telling. Just kind of freeing in its own way.
Yeah. And then to go on jump back to the fantasy can just be a metaphor.
Yeah.
Have you read Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell?
Yes. Yeah.
I kind of feel like that whole book is hard magic system versus soft magic system.
Yep.
Like, so I have mixed feelings about like the book itself, but I do like that it's basically two wizards arguing over whether or not a hard magic system or a soft magic system is better.
I kind of love that.
Like
that's
there's
not how
meta
magic works.
joke
No, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is how my magic works. Who are you to say that's not? I quite like the depiction of fairies in that, because the fairies are all very inhuman and very dangerous.
Yeah.
In a way that you don't get in a lot of books with fairies in them. And that's how fairies should be, in my opinion. Fairies, they're real scary.
Fuck you up.
They'll fuck you up real good, and not in a way that you would expect. Or even be able to deal with.
I also liked that the black guy was the best at dealing with them, because as a black man in England at the time, he is used to just like being hyper aware of someone who has too much power over him's random mood swings and like their nonsensical ideas about what they should do, and he just has to agree with them.
Yep. He's like, sure, that seems like a good idea. Do that. I'll find a way to make that impossible thing happen so that you don't murder me now. I also like how all of the non-wizards who are like trying to academic their way into being wizards, they're all insufferable in different ways.
Yeah.
That's very good.
Because of course they would be.
Of course. And were like anytime you hear about like, oh, so and so of the Royal Society, you're like, that was an insufferable person.
Yeah. An insufferable person with too much money.
And way too much time to inflict their insufferability on everyone.
But yeah, like I feel like that is always what draws me to fantasy stuff, is running on that sort of metaphor logic. And there was this really good urban fantasy series that never got finished, called Felix Castor.
Oh, I think you
Um,
were telling me about that one.
and it was interesting. The thing that I liked about it is like everyone's magic is so completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because it's like what sort of thing makes sense to you? Like
Gotcha.
so so Felix, the main character, he plays a flute and that's how he like casts magic. Like
Right.
the way he exorcises ghosts is he like plays his flute until he gets a song that feels like it describes the ghost he's trying to trap. And then
Oh,
like somehow the ghost gets wrapped in the song, so when he
cool.
stops playing, the ghost also goes away.
Oh, neat.
Um, but like again, everyone's stuff is completely different. So like there's a person who like draws a picture like abstract art and like
Right.
that's how they would like do it. And so it's
That's cool.
based entirely on whatever sort of thing calls to the wizard.
Almost as like creativity is part of the magic, and creativity is such a personal thing that it reacts differently with every wizard.
Yeah, it's and but it doesn't necessarily tie it to creativity because there's one person who like they just flip cards, like they shuffle cards and then like go through a
Neat.
regular deck of cards until they find the one that's like,
Calls to
yes,
them. Yeah.
the three of spades is this ghost.
Neat.
Like
Interesting.
what why the three of spades? Like I don't know, like
That's just how it is.
yeah.
Cool.
Um so I like those more like squishy magic things.
Mm-hmm.
Any cool folks in your chat? They got things to chime in about our sci-fi movies or fantasy things or
Juki Holic a while ago said, "Didn't Star Trek create a utopia and put all the white cis dudes on top?" Not wrong.
I mean at the
Except for
beginning they
Deep
did and
Space
then
Nine.
they and now we got other folks on
Yeah.
top.
Yeah, yeah. Just at the beginning when they were still like, this is a pulp, right? Because all sci-fi started off as pulp, and it was for
And then
boys.
also
It was all for
in the
boys or
original
men.
pilot,
Yeah.
they did want the second in command to be a lady.
Yeah, yeah.
And that just got
That got voted
nixed.
down because they were like, nope.
Yeah.
Ooh, too progressive for us.
Ladies can't be that
Simmer
powerful.
down. Ladies can't be in the Space Navy. What are you talking about?
And if they can, they can't be
They shouldn't be in charge.
uh yeah, they can't be second in command.
Yeah. What if there was a lady in charge on her period? What sort of decisions would she make?
Forget where I saw it, but someone posted a thing that was like um ladies on their periods hormones are closer to dudes with
Yeah, yeah.
testosterone, so
Yeah, so
so actually a lady who has gone through menopause is maybe the the least emotional like
the least
leader.
emotional spikes. Yeah,
Yeah.
because, her hormones are pretty stable by that point.
Mhm.
I still can't get over when Hillary Clinton was running for president, and they were like, "But what if she's on her period?" And I'm like, "Sir, she is like in her 60s. Have you heard of a
Yeah.
thing called menopause?" No, no, you haven't actually. Uh-huh, that's the problem. Curve on that tail. There we go. That'll do. You got any Halloween plans this year?
This Sunday, Corey and I are going to a haunted house bar.
Oh yeah, you said. Nice.
I am treating Corey because it is near Corey's birthday.
Yeah. Corey gets the spooky month birthday.
Yep.
Good.
But otherwise, I'm not doing anything. There used to be a big Halloween party here in Portland, but I haven't done it in the past few years. So,
Yeah.
for obviously because of COVID, but they were also like considering not doing it before that. Like,
right, and that was just a.
They're like it got so big that they're like, this is too much cleaning afterwards, and
Yeah.
because it was like the entire fucking comics industry
Oh wow.
would go to this party.
Right. That sounds like a lot. Also sounds like really fun, but like a lot. And I
But they're
don't
the
know
ones
how
that
many.
have to clean up after it.
Yeah, and I don't know how many cartoonists would be up for that many people now after having been like alone doing comics for how many years. Like no, social anxiety times 1,000,000. I hate it.
I think it was also they were having like, it was a couple, and like one member of the couple's dad was really ill, and they had to keep
Oh
flying
yeah,
to where he lived, and
yeah,
so it was kind of like
getting too
combination of
much.
those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I am anticipating Halloween. Have the past couple Halloweens I've been like, I'll put on my mask and I sit on the couch and watch a scary movie, and that's about as much as I did. But I used to go to the Parade of Lost Souls here in Vancouver, which is super fun, Halloween themed, like street fair basically. And I'm finally feeling, because it's an outdoor event, that if I'm masked, which I will be under my mask, under my Halloween mask, that it's probably safe enough to go to. So I'm really looking forward to that this year. Take some friends, go and wander up and down the drive and see some spooky stuff. The last time I was there, they'd built an entire haunted pirate ship, which was super cool. So many pine trees. Getting real good at drawing pine trees.
So Ryan North is writing Lower Deck comics.
Yes.
And The first one is about the holodeck making a Dracula.
Oh, good.
So it's Star Trek vs. Dracula.
Oh, good. That's a very Ryan North concept. I like it.
And well, what was funny is so a podcast I listen to, like that talks about comics, brings this up, and it's like I feel like Ryan North sat down and was like, "How can I write the perfect comic for Chris?" And sat down and did it because it's a bunch of like in jokes about old Star Trek. They're fighting Dracula. Like, so there's a bunch of Dracula jokes in it. Like, it's two things that this host loves. And
Perfect.
He's like, it's one of my favorite things.
All in one comic.
Another thing that I think is funny is to circle back to Lana Wachowski and Interesting Messes.
What is that? There we go.
One sci-fi movie I do own that is far from the best sci-fi movie.
Yep.
But is one that I find highly entertaining.
Yep.
Is Jupiter Ascending.
Oh, you've told me about this. I've never seen it, but it sounds fun. It's just just ridiculous.
The best description / review of Jupiter Ascending is it's a garbage can full of all my favorite things.
Good. Good. It's got wolf boys.
It's basically space vampires versus space werewolves when you think about it.
So it's space underworld.
Yeah, because the villains, they like create sentient life. They create life on planets, and then when the planet reaches a certain like mass population of sentient life, they kill everyone on the planet to turn them into goo, and then that goo is used to keep them young forever.
Oh, so yeah, vampires. They eat all the people's blood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So well, it's like they still grow old, but then they get in this goo bath and then they're young again.
Gotcha.
So they can technically die of old age if they ever run out of goo.
So they need to keep some civilized creatures around.
They just keep doing it over and over again. Like, so they have multiple planets that are supposedly at various stages of getting to mass population. But then they've also like genetically engineered animal people.
Right, and that's why there's the wolf boys.
And that's why there's the wolf boy.
Sometimes you need to have a sexy wolf boy.
All the animal people, though they should have made him more wolfy. And
always a problem.
Way more wolfy in the concept art, and they're cowards.
They chickened out.
That's why they didn't do it.
They were like, "This is too sexy. Furries will love it." And they were like, "No, we do not want furries." And it's like, "No, that's the incorrect choice. Lean into that.
Yeah,
make it super furry."
He just has pointy ears, and that's the wrong answer.
Oh, that is the wrong answer. At least give him a tail. If you're gonna make a wolf boy.
He doesn't even have fur or fangs.
He just got little pointy ears? So he's just an elf.
Just pointy ears. Yeah.
He's just a growly elf.
He has a gun that barks, though. He does have a gun that barks.
That's pretty good.
His gun makes a woof noise.
Good. That's excellent. As it should be.
When Dirty Old Ladies was starting to run out of like comic specific ideas to talk about for each episode, we were briefly doing how would we turn this thing into a comic.
Good.
And so the whole episode is Amanda and I brainstorming what we would do with Jupiter Ascending.
Oh, and good.
The main problem with Jupiter Ascending is it was supposed to be 3 movies.
Yeah.
That is clear in the fact that there are 3 bad guys. of like varying degrees of like evil.
And it's like, yeah,
So,
these were
like,
supposed to be the 3 different movie villains.
yeah.
All right,
Like,
that's
and
that
even the first
page.
bad guy
Pretty
who
good.
gives her all the exposition about like what's going on, is like the least threatening, and it at first like is quote unquote planning to kidnap her, but really it was just like, well, my brothers were after you, so I kidnapped you so they couldn't get to you.
Isn't she like a space princess?
So the thing is these space vampires are so long-lived that they know that through random chance your genetic sequence can get repeated, like if you wait long enough. So someone who is genetically identical to you will eventually pop up through random chance.
Right.
And they believe, like, in their society, that's what reincarnation is your genetics randomly popping up again.
Right.
So main character has the same genetic code as the villain's mom, who died like a couple of centuries ago.
Right.
And since they know that this can happen, bad guy's mom of the space vampires, put in her will that her reincarnation inherits Earth.
Oh, okay. So yeah, she's sort of a vampire space princess.
So, really the main thing is at the beginning she has to fill out a bunch of bureaucratic paperwork and figure out how to navigate this bureaucracy.
Good.
Which is why it's like Amanda and I, and so part of the plot point of the movie is that she's an illegal alien. And so Amanda and I were like, well, since she's an illegal alien, she would know how to like navigate unfamiliar weird bureaucracy shit and like how to get around it. So we were like, so that's like her special skill / character trait that's going to help her through the movie.
Right.
Or if we're turning this into comics, like this is how it helps her get through. Yeah. So like she's so used to dealing with other bureaucracy that like
that's her superpower.
She's like, okay, I got this. And because one of the things is we don't really get a good character beat on her because there's not enough time.
Right.
So you have like first sibling that kidnaps her. We're like, what if? Okay, it turns out that she's not evil. So then we spend some time where main character is chilling at her place while learning all the weird bureaucracy shit she's about to jump into.
Right.
And then second sibling comes up to main character and is like, hey, I know that you own Earth now and that we have this goo that makes you young forever, but did you know that the goo is made of people? Like, he lets her know, like, the goo's made of people.
Good.
And she's like, oh no, I didn't know this. And he goes, I think that that's horrible. And that we shouldn't turn people into goo to stay young. And he's like, but I do not have enough capital in this system to like try to fight against how much people want to keep making goo
and living
and
forever.
He's like, if we got married for political purposes, we could combine our forces. Turns out that that's a trick to just try to steal Earth. Like, he told her that to manipulate her.
Because if I marry you, then I can steal Earth out from under you.
Yeah.
Right.
Where we're like, okay, keep that plot line, but he does sort of like hit on her for real in the movie, and it's like, no, if this is his bit. Every
Yeah.
other time we see this guy, he is having like space orgies with his furries.
Good, good, good.
So I was like, so if we're making, Amanda and I are like, so in the comic version, what we would do is he still basically tells her the same pitch, but he's like, and we don't have to, we can have an open marriage and we don't have to actually fuck each other. This is purely a political arrangement. I see you like sexy dogmen. I have a wide variety of sexy dogmen for you to fuck.
Let's work together on this.
And he's like, here are my sexy dog ladies.
I don't discriminate.
Like,
you can
he's
have
like,
either.
Here's our here's where I have my space orgies with all my furries.
Good.
Feel free to use my orgy room for your sexy dogman orgies or whatever. And he's also pitching that to her. So it's a little bit of hey, it's the right thing to not turn people into goo, but also like indulge in the decadence that capitalism 1% life
gives
can
you.
Get you.
You know, like all them furry orgies in space.
Yeah, all them furry orgies.
Good.
And I feel like that's not a thing that wouldn't be in the movie if they were allowed to have 3 movies instead of the 1.
Yeah.
And then the last bad guy is he speaks in only whispers and shouts. I forget his name, so I just called him Shouty McWhispers.
Good. Good.
But he apparently, it's like, this is a thing that I didn't learn from the movie. I learned from like notes on the concept art.
Good.
Which is that the reason why he only shouts and whispers is because Wolfman, Dog Boy, attacked him and damaged his vocal cords.
Oh.
So he has no middle volume.
Gotcha.
And I'm like, that's quite the detail to leave out.
That really is. That should at least be said on screen at some point.
To explain the bizarre way that he talks, because he's like, I create life and destroy it. Like, there's no middle volume.
Mr. Shouty Whispers. I love it.
Yeah.
Before we sign off for the evening, I had to show off the horse, what I drew. It's a good horse. I'm pretty happy with that horse.
Send me your horse.
I will. It's even bending its head in a weird direction, and I'm happy with how I pulled it off. But I think I am about done for the evening. How are you feeling?
I just have one face left to draw, and then I'm done for the evening.
Cool. I drew a bridle and everything. Oh, I didn't finish. I gotta get the reins. I gotta make the reins happen on this horse.
Alright, so we'll keep going for a few more minutes, and you can draw that bridle while I draw this face.
Get some reins happening here. They gotta, yep, and then, yep, and then, yep. That's not too bad. And then this one should go over the back.
But yeah, Jupiter Ascending is not a good movie. But it is an entertaining movie. Yeah.
Good.
There is a she goes to like Bureaucracy Planet.
Good.
And there is a robot that's supposed to help her with Bureaucracy Planet. And they go to like the wrong floor, and another robot like gives him side eye and sass, and I feel like that interaction implies so much history between these two robots.
Good. And none of it happens on screen.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, it's just like
good sassy robots.
Well, see, it's not even sass. It's like looks at each other that give me very much like, we are exes, but we have to work together and be professionals.
Yes.
So I'm like simmering underneath this professional exterior.
That makes me then have so many questions about robot relationships. how long do they live? Theoretically, if you've dated enough robots, like, there's only so many robots, you've dated them all, just a room full of your exes, good and awkward.
Yeah, maybe dating other people that live on Bureaucracy Planet with you is not a good idea.
No, that seems like a bad. When your whole planet is an office, don't date anyone. Leave that planet.
Yeah.
Never go back.
What's funny is there's a part where the robot is like, as you know, I am programmed to not be able to engage in bribery or any other unseemly activities. And then money literally shoots out of his hand at the guy that he is trying to subtly bribe.
Good. Good. I definitely can't do this thing that I'm doing right now.
But yeah, and so that's why I'm like, this should have been like more of a single movie that, like, so maybe like toward the beginning of the second movie, or like toward the end of the first movie. Also, Sean Bean's in it as a bee-man, so he's Sean B.
Good. Sean B.
Except his name is Stinger in the
Excellent.
movie, but
good. That's the B movie we all really wanted. Screw Seinfeld. Give us Sean B. The B-man.
Bees can sense royalty.
Oh.
They just can. Don't question it.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
They just can.
Look, there's space people doing weird space shit. Of course, bees can sense royalty.
Sean Bean raises regular Earth bees that can also sense royalty.
Oh, I thought he was like a half-man bee combo.
But
like a wolf boy.
He is. Yes,
but he also raises bees.
They did not much like him, much like Wolf Boy. They did not go far enough with his design.
No,
he has like some stripes in his hair.
Oh, yeah, no.
But
he should have some weird eyes. If you're gonna have a bee man,
he raises regular bees, and the regular bees can sense royalty. And there's a very goofy scene where the bees all like fly in a circle around the main character,
right? Because she's
to
royalty.
show that she's the secret vampire princess.
Good. Good. Well, you know, you got to tell the bees when a royalty dies, or they'll take off.
Yeah.
Bees are real big on that kind of stuff.
All right, I have finished my page.
All right, I think I am good for this evening as well.
Thank you, everyone, for coming by the stream.
Yeah, it's a good one. It was good chatting with y'all. Good chatting sci-fi.
Yeah.
Have a good night, everybody.
It was fun.
We will see you all later. Bye. Yes.